Shalom, shalom, shalom. All praise to you, Most High, Yahweh, and the Son Yahweh Shah. And today we celebrate another feast day, which is called the Feast of Pentecost. All right. In other words, the Feast of Weeks or First Fruits. All right. And it's an honor to come back to the Most High in these last days. Right. So let's kick this thing off. Salaki. All right, so let's start off, right, with the book of Baruch, chapter 2, verse number 30. Because the Most High God has waken up his people, right? And he's waking us up in these last days. All right, let's start off with this book. It says, "For I knew that they would not hear me, because it is a stiff-necked people." Now, some people ain't going to hear us. When we out there on the streets and the highways and byways, and we're telling the people to come back to God's laws, only if y'all knew what this thing is really for, all right? And if you're not keeping this day today, guess what? You in sin, whether you know you're an Israelite or you don't know you're an Israelite, right? You in sin at this moment, okay? Let me read this again. It says, "For I knew that they would not hear me, because it is a stiff-necked people," right? Our people are a stiff-necked people. And watch this. Let's keep reading. "But in the land of their captivities, they shall remember themselves." So God said in the last days that we will remember ourselves, right? We will remember ourselves. We will come back to what the Most High God has given us, these feast days, right? And today we're going over the Feast of Pentecost. The Feast of Pentecost. Let's start with the book of Leviticus, chapter 23, and verse number 5. And today it's not going to be a long video. Just going to do a short and get you guys to understand what today is. All right. So this Leviticus chapter 23 and 10. It says, "Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them," matter of fact, let's start at verse 9. It says, "And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying," so this is coming directly from the Most High. So you guys won't say, "Oh, that's man-made. Man said that." No. The Lord spake unto Moses, saying, "Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, when ye be come into the land which I give unto you." What land? Jerusalem. God promised us that land. "And shall reap the harvest thereof," right? "Then ye shall bring a sheaf of the first fruits of your harvest unto the priest," right? So this is a day that God has given us, right, for the first fruits. In other words, Feast of Harvest, you can say it that as well, right? Feast of Pentecost, right? Let's get it. And it said, "And he shall wave the sheaf before the Lord to be accepted for you. On the morrow after the Sabbath, the priest shall wave it." Right. And the priest, when you study on the priest was the Levites, right? You so-called Haitians out there, y'all were the priests. God set up the Levites to be priests. All right. So let's keep going. All right, let's start at verse 15. It says, "And ye shall count unto you from the morrow after the Sabbath, from the day that ye brought the sheaf of the wave offering." 7 Sabbaths shall be completed. Right. So after the Passover, right, you have the Feast of Pentecost. So you count 7 Sabbaths after that, right? So 7 times 7, you got 49, right? It says, "Even unto the morrow after the 7th Sabbath shall ye number 50 days," right? Because it's 49 plus 1 will equals 50, right? So you got 7 Sabbaths, which is 49. And then you count an extra day, and that would be 50 days. "And ye shall offer a new meat offering unto the Lord." Right. So these are feast days right after the Passover. right? And what we need to understand, right, is that them days that the Most High God has given us are feast days, right? It is feast days, and these are important days, right? Let's start with the book of Exodus, all right? Let's go back one. I'm gonna show y'all another one. This is Exodus chapter 34 and verse number 22, all right? So you got Exodus chapter 34 and verse number 22, all right? And thou shalt observe the feast of weeks, of the first fruits of weeks harvest, and the feast of ingathering at the end of the year. Well, that's actually another feast. That goes with the Feast of Tabernacles. But you want this part right here. And thou shalt observe the feast of weeks. So another word for first fruits, you got the feast of weeks, right? Or you got the feast of harvest, or you can call it Pentecost. The word penta means 5. Then you got Pentecost, which means 50. That's why he said you should do 7 weeks, which equals 49 days. Then the next day equals 50. And 9 times out of 10, where it's supposed to anyway, every feast of first fruits or feast of Pentecost will be on a Sunday, right? Because if you're counting 7/7, that's going to be on Saturday. Plus that extra day will be on Sunday. Now, you people in the Christian church, ask yourself, do they keep the Feast of Weeks? Do they keep first fruits? Right? No, they don't. Right? So let's read it again. And thou shalt observe the Feast of Weeks, of the first fruits of weeks, of harvest. Right? Let's read it. And thou shalt observe the Feast of Weeks, of the first fruits of the wheat of harvest. Right? So let's get another one. Of wheat harvest. Let's see. Because then you also have people say, well, guess what? I can hear a pastor right now. We ain't got to keep the feast of first fruits. The Bible says you got to be in your land. Let's see. Let's go to the book of Tobit, chapter 2 and verse 1. And these are excuses normally why they would want to keep the feast days. All right? 9 times out of 10, it be excuses. Right? Now, you know a guy named Tobit. Tobit was in the Assyrian captivity. All right? Listen to this. It says, now, when I was come home again, and my wife Anna was restored unto me with my son Tobias, in the feast of Pentecost, which is the holy feast of the 7 weeks, there was a good dinner prepared me, and the which I sat down to eat. Right. So you can keep the feast days whether you're in captivity or not. Right. Just like when we kept when we kept the Passover in Egypt. Right. God said, prepare this day because I'm coming this night to deliver you. Right. Was we in Jerusalem? What was it? Were we at the homeland? No. Right. This was way back in the book of Exodus. We never hit the homeland yet. Right. We didn't hit that to the book of Joshua. So that's another example you can say, well, look here, we can do, there's no excuse whether we're in captivity to keep these feast days. Right? I'm gonna read it again. Now when I was come home again, and my wife Anna was restored unto me with my son Tobias, in the feast of Pentecost. Right? In other words, first fruits. Right? Which is the holy feast of the 7 weeks. This is a holy feast. This is a holy convocation where Israel is supposed to be gathered together. Again, if you're not gathered together on this day, on the feast day, whatever day you celebrate your feast days, you are in sin according to the Bible. Yes, you're in sin at this moment, right? Which, let's get it. There was a good dinner prepared me, in the which I sat down to eat. Right. So in those days, it's a good dinner. Right. He said there was a good dinner prepared me, in the which I sat down to eat. Right. So that's another account, right, of Tobit keeping the feast days. Right. And this is a very important day. Right. It's a day that we come together, right? Holy convocation, right? It is a holy convocation, right? Let's go to the book of Esther, right? What I'm doing at this moment, I'm just getting accounts to show you guys, right, that these days that we must keep, right? Let's go to the book of Esther, chapter 8, and verse number 9. It's another account. All right. It says, then were the king scribes called at that time in the 3rd month. So typically the feast of first fruits will be within the 3rd month. That is the month Savan, right? They call it the month Savan. On the 3 and 20th day thereof, right? And it was written according to all that Mardecius commanded unto the Jews, right? They commanded unto the Jews, right? So again, ask yourself, would I keep the Feast of Pentecost? Or am I going to stay in sin? Right? What are you going to do? Right? Are you going to come back to the commandments of the Lord? Or are you going to keep sinning like you're doing behind closed doors? And again, it starts with the coming back, right? It starts with knowing who you are. And as I always say, if you can't keep the smallest commandments, you breaking them all. You'll break anything. And what's the simple one? Fringes. What's another one? Right? Keeping your beard on your face. If you can't keep simple commandments, you're breaking damn near, I would say all of the commandments. Something going on behind closed doors. All right? Let's go to 2nd Maccabees, chapter 12 and verse number 31, I believe. Yep, that's it. They gave them thanks, desiring them to be friendly still unto them. Right? And so they came to Jerusalem, the Feast of Weeks approaching. Right? So this during the time when the Maccabees released the Jews to go into Jerusalem, the Feast of Weeks approaching. And after the feast, called Pentecost. So let's let you know the Feast of Weeks. It's the same as the Feast of Pentecost. Right? They went forth against Georgius, the governor of Idumea. These are Edomites, right? That is the so-called white man today, right? The Feast of Pentecost. So we have to keep these commandments, ladies and gentlemen, right? An important feast day that you have to keep. All right, let's get to the book of Numbers. Let's get the book of Numbers, right? Book of Numbers, chapter 28. I think it's 28. Yeah, 28. And let's go to verse number 26. All right? Let's go into the law. Also, in the day of first fruits, when ye bring a new meat offering unto the Lord, after your weeks be out, ye shall have a holy convocation. Ye shall do no servile work. Right. So what is a convocation? Meaning gathering, right? A holy convocation, right? That's to get together. And that's what we're supposed to do. Get together on these feast days, right? That the Most High God has given us, right? So these are important days. Very, very, very important days. Like garden everywhere. Very, very important days. Right? First fruits. Right? Come back to the commandments of the Lord, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get another one. Let's show you that in the New Testament. So, because some people will say, well, show me that in the New Testament that we got to keep those days. Show me. Okay. Let's go to the book of Acts, chapter 2. Remember, first fruits, It's the same as Pentecost or Feast of Weeks. So Acts chapter 2 and verse 1. Right? It says, and when the day of Pentecost was fully come, they were all with one accord in one place. So you have to be on one accord. Right? You can't celebrate the feast day. So look, I'm gonna eat McDonald's today. Right? Or I'm gonna go to Burger King. I'm gonna go to KFC. I'm gonna go to Popeyes, Taco Bell. No. This is an important day. The feast of first fruits. You got the fruits, right? You got the dinner. These are important days that God commanded us to keep. And when the day of Pentecost was fully come, they were all in one place in one accord. And suddenly there came a sound from heaven as of a rushing mighty wind, and it filled all the house where they were sitting. Right. So during this time, it filled the house where they were sitting. Then some of y'all might say, well, that's not concluding the Jews. That's everybody. Let's keep reading. And there appeared unto them cloven tongues like as of fire, and it sat upon each of them. And they were all filled with the Holy Ghost and began to speak with other tongues as the Spirit gave them utterance. So the Spirit of the Lord came upon these men, right, and gave them utterance. As it gave them utterance. Okay, let's see who was it. And there were dwelling at Jerusalem Jews. That's who it was. See verse 1. And when the day of Pentecost was fully come, they were all in one accord in one place. Verse 5. And there were dwelling at Jerusalem Jews, devout men out of every nation under heaven. So these were Jews that were scattered under every nation that came together in Jerusalem to keep what? The Feast of Pentecost. Okay? Now when this noise was abroad, the multitude came together and were confounded because every man heard them speak in his own language. Not that, no, it was languages. That's speaking in tongue. Like if I have a so-called Puerto Rican, he's going to say something in Spanish, right? That's speaking in another tongue, right? Or if let's just say I'm trying to teach some Puerto Ricans. They don't understand English, but I have a Puerto Rican beside me. He's going to speak in tongues, and he's going to interpret what I'm trying to tell them. That's tongue, another language. That's not happening in church, right? So we have to understand, brothers and sisters, that these feast days are very important. And it's in the law. And if you're not keeping it, I'm going to show you again. Let's go to 1 John, all right? Chapter 3 and verse number 4. 1 John chapter 3 and verse 4. Whoso committeth sin, all right, transgresseth also the law. For sin is the transgression of the law. So sin is when you break the laws of God. What is one of the laws? The Feast of Pentecost, right? That's one of the laws that you should be keeping this day, right? And take no day for granted. You have to take no day that the Most High God, think about it, he's giving us our heritage back. But some of you guys has discontinued from that. And then some of you know that you're Israelites and you're sinning on purpose. And God going to judge that behind. I promise you, he's going to get to you. He's going to get to you. So don't think you're going to get away with it. No, he's going to get to you bad. Once you come into this truth and you leave, he's going to get to you. All right? Leviticus 23 and 1. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, concerning the feast of the Lord, the feasts of the Lord, right? With the plural, that's the answer at the end. So he's about to tell you all his feasts, which ye shall proclaim to be an holy convocation. Even these are my feasts. So are you keeping the Lord's feast day? Right? You have to keep the Lord's feast days. Verse 4. These are the feasts of the Lord, even holy convocation, which ye shall proclaim in their seasons. Right? But some of you just don't mind keeping Thanksgiving on the low. Some of you don't mind keeping Christmas on the low. All right? And then honestly, if you breaking all on, because you can't keep the simple ones, you like, again, you'll do anything, right? But you can't keep the feast of the first fruits. Come on now, Jake. You got some explaining to do. These are commandments. And what did Christ say? Because some of y'all could say, well, hey, look here. I don't got to do all of that. I ain't got to do all of that. All right, let's see. Am I going to hell just because I don't do such and such? Let's see what Christ said. All right? Watch what God said. And for Matthew 5:18, for verily I say unto you, to heaven and earth pass, one jot or one tittle shall in no wise pass from the law to all be fulfilled. Christ said, not even the least commandment, well, not even one jot, one tittle shall not pass from the law. Right? Verse 19. This is the point I want. Whosoever, I want y'all to look at it good. Whosoever, I don't give a damn if you a backsliding Israelite or whatever. Whosoever, therefore, shall break one of the least commandment. What's one of the least commandment? A beard on your face. Right? Fringes. That's the easiest one. Can't keep that one. You breaking all the rest. I mean, you could be committing adultery. You could be doing anything. Trust me, you'll break it. What's another least? Any type of least you can think of. Whosoever therefore shall break one of these least commandments, right, and shall teach men so, he shall be called the least in the kingdom of heaven. In other words, you ain't getting in there. All right? But whosoever shall do and teach them, the same shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven. Right? Do you want to be called great in the kingdom of heaven? Right? Because a lot of people, y'all don't want that great name. Y'all don't want that great name. Let's get it. Let's go to Proverbs chapter 22. God said, whoever do it and teach man so, he's going to be called great in the kingdom of heaven. All right? Let's go to Proverbs 22:1. All right? A good name is rather to be chosen than great riches. So some of y'all choose great riches. Some of y'all think that because you got a lot of money in your bank account, that's going to get you somewhere in life. That has nothing to do with anything, right? And loving favor rather than silver and with gold, right? So you want that good name, right? You want to be called great in the kingdom of heaven. Ask yourself, do I want to be called least in the kingdom of heaven because I can't keep a simple commandment that God given us, right? Ask yourself that question because you want to keep sinning against the Most High. Christ said, whoever break the least one, you ain't getting in there, all right? And he's going to destroy your behind. He's going to destroy you, man. Let's get it. Let's go to Ecclesiastes, because some people say, well, hey, look here, I can keep breaking God's commandments. Because guess what? He ain't judged me yet. He ain't got to me yet. I ain't got to keep no freaking feast day. Matter of fact, I'm done calling myself an Israelite. I'm done. Let's get it. It says, because sentence against an evil work is not executed speedily. God, just because I didn't judge you right away, after you know who you were in these last days, and you backslid on me, and you turned your back on the Most High, you studied sinning, right? Because sentence against an evil work is not executed speedily. Therefore, the heart of the sons of men, I mean the mind, is fully set in them to do evil. Some brothers are just destined to die. You just destined to die. That's why you can't help yourself. Some brothers are just destined to die. Because guess what? You gave up on the Most High. You have given up on the Most High. Although that's another topic. I went over that, I think, last week. Right? Let's go to Proverbs. Because some brothers can't rule his own. He can't get himself together. Let's go to Proverbs chapter 25 and verse number 28. Let's see what God said. Some brothers, that's why he can't keep the smallest commandment. He can't keep it because he's destined to die. Right? God just got you saved up to die. Proverbs 25:28. He that have no rule over his own spirit. If you can't got no rule over your own spirit, you can't stop committing adultery. You can't keep a simple feast day that he gave us. Can't even put fringes on it. You can't keep God's Sabbath day. Nothing. You can't do nothing. Absolutely nothing. Because you're a weak beta person. Right? And the same thing for the women. You are not destined to do it. Because God's going to destroy your behind as well. He's going to destroy you as well. He that have no rule over his own spirit. You can't get your own spirit right. All right? Let's keep reading. It's like a city that is broken down and without walls. God said you like a city. A city that's broken down without walls, meaning anybody can get in there. That means you accept anything. You will accept anything. A man that stands for nothing will fall for anything. You can't even stand up for the Most High. So what makes you think you ain't going to fall for anything? You can't. You literally will fall for anything. Right? Let's go to Psalms 94:16. I don't want to get too far off the topic, just in my spirit to say this. Right? It's Psalms 94:16. Who will rise up for me against the workers? Who will rise up for me against the evildoers? Ask yourself, can you rise up for the Most High? You can't even keep simple laws. You can't even keep the simple feast day, bro. Simple laws. Easy. So how you gonna rise up for the evildoers and you can't even stand up for the Most High? Or who will stand up for me against the workers of iniquity? Who? Right? So again, that's why these days are important, brothers and sisters. And you have to come back to the Lord's feast. And remember, right? I always said all the time, this work is not in vain. You got some brothers going to come in this thing, right, and stay. Some brothers are going to come in this thing and leave, right? So this 1 Corinthians 15:58, God allows certain people to come into the truth, right, and leave just to know who they are, and then kill them at the end. God got plenty of ways to destroy you. Only you can hear the stories in the Bible. Therefore, 1 Corinthians 15:58. Therefore, my beloved brethren, be ye steadfast, unmovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord. So God said you got to be steadfast, unmovable. Nobody can move. Your wife can't move you either. She'll never say, hey, bro, don't do the work of the Lord. You do that, you weak. You're just a weak person. Or vice versa, sister. Nobody can come to you, one of your friends. Don't keep the feast day. Don't listen to you, blah, blah, blah. You're weak. Right? Where's your spine? Therefore, my beloved brethren, be ye steadfast, unmovable, always, not sometimes, always abounding in the work of the Lord. For as much as ye know that your labor is not in vain in the Lord. God said your labor is not even in vain. Paul is warning us. He said, listen, your labor is not in vain. So what I'm doing right here, y'all can say, well, it's just a simple feast day. No, it's not in vain. Because I got faith. Right? I got faith. Right? A lot of brothers don't have no works. You have to put in your work. Your faith alone is not going to get you to the kingdom of God. You have to have both. Right? You know you're an Israelite, even worse. God gonna kill you even worse because you know the truth and you turn your back. He gonna get you even worse. Right? Let's go down to verse 17. Wrong one. James chapter 2, James 2:17. Even so, faith, if it has not works, it is dead, being alone. God said, I don't give a dag how much faith you got. If you ain't got works, your faith is dead, being alone. Just like you are dead, being alone. Why? Because you don't want to be around brothers. You think you got this thing all by yourself. Mm-mm. Even so, faith, if it has not works, God said it is dead. Now we're gonna go back to that. Let's get another account for a second, right? Because I want to back up what I said. Because you want to be alone. Let's go to Jude chapter 1 and 19. All right. Jude 1 and 19. These be they who separate themselves. Why? Because he want to be alone. Just like your faith. You want your faith to be alone and you want to be alone. These be they who separate themselves. It's a holy feast day. Some brothers say, well, look here, I know it's a feast day, brother, but y'all can go ahead on, man. I'm going to go and eat out. My wife want to do this and that. Or I want to go out with my friends or my homeboys. No, These be they who separate themselves. Sensual, that means emotional. Having not the spirit, because you don't even have the spirit. God said a person like that don't even have the spirit. Right? Ask yourself, do I have the spirit? Right? Do I have the spirit? All right, let's get another account. No, actually, let's go back to James chapter 2 and verse 17. So this is James chapter 2. All right, let's go back. All right, let's go right back. James chapter 2 and verse 17. So keep these feast days. Right? Even so, faith, if it has not worked, it is dead, being alone, just like that emotional brother. Yeah, a man may say, thou hast faith, and I have works. Right? You hear that? Yeah, a man may say, I have faith. Yeah, a man may say, thou hast faith, and I have works. Show me thy faith without thy works, and I will show thee my faith by my works. Right. So a brother can say, oh, I got faith. Right. And then I can have works. So I'm like, yo, show me your faith without your works. Because you can say, well, look, I believe in the feast day. I'm like, so are you going to keep it? No. All right. So show me your faith by your works. And guess what? I'm going to show thee my faith by my works. Right. You got to have both. You got to have both. Verse 19. Thou believest that there is one God. Thou doest well. The devil also believe and tremble. Just because you believe there's a God, right? Don't mean you doing the right thing. Because you got to have, your faith says there's a God. But where's your works? Satan know there's a God. Is Satan good? No. All right? Verse 20. But what thou know, O vain man, that faith without works is dead. Did you know that? Do you know if you got faith and the feast days is real, that we must keep first fruits? Right? But you don't want to do it. Do you know that your faith is dead? Just because you know, oh, it's in the Bible. Well, I know we got to do it. Hey, God know my heart. It's dead, man. Right? Verse 21. Now he's going to give you an example. Was not Abraham our father justified by works? Right. Abraham was justified by works. It takes your works as well. Abraham was justified by works. Okay, brothers and sisters? He was justified by works. Okay? When he had offered Isaac his son upon the altar. See, Abraham could say, Lord, I'll do it, but I'm not gonna do it, but you know I do it. Because hey, you've been with me for a while now. You know I do it though, but I'm not gonna do it, but you know I do it. What is it gonna mean to the Most High? Abraham was justified by his works. In other words, put your money where your mouth is. And also, of course, God didn't allow him to sacrifice his son. You know what I mean? You want to see where Abraham listened, and Abraham was obedient, right? He attempted to. And some brothers don't even want to attempt to. Right? Let's go to James. Excuse me. Let's go to 1 John. All right. So whether you in this truth or used to be in this truth or not, you have to stay strong. And again, today is a holy convocation. Today is a holy convocation. 1 John chapter 2, verse 19. They went out from us, but they were not of us. Right, because some people are going to leave. Some people are going to leave this truth. The Bible says they went out from us, but they were not of us. Just because you're around people that's in the truth, that don't mean you're of Israel. That's why the scripture says they are not all Israel that is of Israel. They went out from us, but they were not of us. For if they had been of us, they would no doubt have continued with us. Right. So if you was, listen to this very good. I need y'all to listen to this very good. Again, some people are gonna leave this truth. Some people are going to remove themselves. Right? Let's read it again. It says they went out from us, but they were not of us. For if they had been of us, right? If you was really my friend, if you were really about this work, they would no doubt have continued with us. Right? They would continue. If you have brothers in your life, man, that especially in this truth or doing the works of the Lord, they won't depart from the Most High. Right? They will no doubt continue with you. They'll be like, look, I'm with this thing, bro, no matter what. I'm not offended by this thing. But they went out, and they might be made manifest that they were not all of us. Right? So let them brothers go. Some brothers you have to let go. Or sisters, you have to let go. They're not about these holidays, man. They're not about the works of the Lord. All right, let's get a few more before I close it out. Again, happy feast of Pentecost. I don't want to get too carried away. You know what I mean? We got to keep these days, brothers and sisters. It's very, very important. Very important. Okay? These days are very, very important. All right, let's go to Romans. All right, chapter 2. All right, got to keep these days holy. All right, got to keep these days holy, brothers and sisters. Got to keep these days holy. So ask yourself, if that's what I'm doing. Am I keeping the commandments of the Lord? Am I going off? Right? Some people goes off. Right? So you want to keep your spirit up. You want to keep your spirit up in the Lord. Excuse me, this computer kind of acting wild a little bit. So you want to continue to be around brothers to keep your spirit up. Right? But these are very important days here that we're living in. Right? So Romans chapter 7, verse 1, it says, know ye not, brethren, for I speak to them that know the law. That's what I'm doing. I'm only speaking to people that know the laws of God. Right? You know to keep the feast of Pentecost. You know to keep the feast of first fruits. You know this. How that the law have dominion over a man as long as he liveth. A law got dominion over you as long as you live, man. Right? Long as you living, right? Long as you here on this earth, the Bible says the law has dominion over you. Long as you here. In other words, long as you breathing. All right? Romans 2:13. For not the hearers of the law are just before God. You can hear this thing all day. You can hear, oh wow, I learned a new feast day. All praise to the Most High. God said not the hearers of the law just before God, but the doers of the law shall be justified. You got to do it. Don't tell me about your old street life and how you used to be and you was about it. You aren't about anything. You ain't about the most. Show me you about it by keeping the Most High God law, because I'm not impressed. Right? Show me that you're about it when it comes to the Most High. When you show me that, I'm like, okay, this brother must be really, or this sister must be really about what they said they're about. All right? That's how you prove it. All right? Let's get a precept. James 1 and 22. Then I'm going to close it out. James chapter 1, verse 22. So you got to be a doer these days, man. You got to do the feast days. James 1 and 22. But be ye doers of the word, and not hearers only. God said, you got to do it. Don't just hear the word. Because a lot of brothers just come out and just hear the word and waste their time. Deceiving your own selves. God said you can deceive yourself if you think you can just hear this thing, right, and not do it. Same thing with faith. You can't just have faith and not do it. Do the works. You gotta have both. You gotta have both, right? You gotta have both. But guess what? Some brothers are coming to the truth and know these feast days that we gotta keep. And guess what? They're gonna go right back to their own vomit again. God said that. Some brothers, again, destined. Some brothers and sisters destined to die. You were just here to be born to be destroyed. Right? Proverbs 26 and 11. As a dog returneth to his vomit, so a fool returned to his folly. God said, just like a dog gonna return back to his vomit, that fool gonna turn right back to his folly. No, he Israelite one day, and then the next day or a few weeks after that, he back in the world. Because he's a dog. Or she is a dog. This thing goes both ways, man. Keep these feast days and don't be slothful in this thing. Right? Let's get one last account. All right? Let's get one last account. Well, I might get two after this. The Spirit is kind of like leading me. Let's slack it. Let's get to 2 Timothy chapter 3. I think it's 2 Timothy chapter 3 and verse number 13. Right? And this is what happens when brothers leave this truth. Leave these feast days that the Most High God, right, has given us, man. Right? God has given us these days for a reason. Right? For a specific reason. Right? Let's get it. 2 Timothy 2:13. But evil men that can't keep simple laws, and seducers shall wax worse and worse. God says some people gonna wax worse and worse. You're gonna wax worse and worse, brother. You gotta understand that what these days is about, man. Don't leave this thing. Deceiving and being deceived. That's all you're doing. You just deceiving and being deceived. And typically, again, these are brothers that knew the Lord's will, brothers and sisters that know the Lord's will. You know what you're supposed to be doing. You know God brought you in this truth for a reason. Right? To keep these days. All right? Let's go to Luke chapter 12 and verse 45. And if that servant say in his heart, my Lord delayeth his coming, and shall begin to beat the men servant and maidens, and to eat and drink and be drunken. So if that wicked person start to do whatever he want to do, you're like, dang, I'm keeping the commandments, but I'm bored, man. I want to do this, man. I ain't really feeling it. I ain't really feeling it like that no more. Then he start going back into the world, right? He can't leave the weed alone. Can't leave the cigarettes alone. Can't keep, and again, you can't keep simple laws. You're never going to leave stuff like that alone. Verse 46, the Lord of that servant will come in a day when he looketh not for him. Right. So the Lord of that servant will come in a day when he looketh not for him. In an hour when he is not aware, and will cut him in asunder, and would appoint him his portion with the unbelievers. Right. So your day is coming. God said that your day is coming. He's going to cut your ass asunder. Verse 47. And that servant which knew his Lord's will. So you know to keep the feast days. You know to continue to stay with the camp. You know, right, to keep God's laws. You know to wear fringes. You know the Sabbath day. You got to keep that. You know these simple holidays that God has given us, man. Right? You know to go harder in this truth 10 times more. You know to separate yourself from your enemy. You know this thing. And that servant which knew his Lord's will, which is God's law, Psalms 40:8, that's the precept, and prepare not himself. God said, you don't prepare yourself, neither did according to his will. You ain't even thinking about it. God, I ain't going to do none of these feast days. Right? I can wear what I want to wear. Do what the hell I want to do. Right? Neither did according to his will. Shall be beaten with many stripes. God said he's going to beat the brakes off that person that knew the God's will. Right? He's going to beat the brakes off of you. Because you a hypocrite. Right? You was a hypocrite. Right? So come back to these feast days, brothers and sisters, right? Keep the Lord's commandments and know that we are the Israelites that's standing up in these last days, right? And we're back in our heritage. And with that, Israel, I say, shalom. All praise to the Most High. Kwam Yashala.